sentence stackers. My name is Mrs. Considine and I'm your English writing teacher. I'm so glad you found me here. I'm here every day of the week to help you with your writing, to improve it, to sharpen it. I really am interested in when we really think about how vivid our words are, how evocative they are. And I'm particularly excited today because I know we have a really amazing film to build our writing around. So, welcome to the Super Sentence Stackers classroom, and together we can make our writing better. Okay, I'm going to explain a little bit more detail about what happens in the classroom. What you'll notice, which is a really important thing that happens, is I'm going to do some demonstration writing. This means you see the writer's brain. I make my thinking as visible as possible. You'll see me tussle with words and tussle. You'll see me reject things, keep things in. And when it is the point that I am making those jottings and having my thinking exposed, I want you to have a pen or a pencil in your hand, because I want you to be a thinking, switched on, excited writer who is gathering words all the time. We are the word weavers. We are the precious pen pushers. We are the super sentence stackers. Okay, what is today's film? Well, today's film is called Soar, and it is just a beautiful film. It's a beautiful film with a very obvious problem at the heart of it. We are going to take our time when we write, and we're going to build our writing really carefully. Mrs. Considine never needs you to write the whole story. I need you to choose a chunk. I need you to choose one moment within the story and write within those time frames. But I'm here to help you. In the description below, there is a link to the film Soar. I don't want you to watch it yet. I want you to watch that after the lesson has finished. The other thing I want you to look at, because it will help you, is the times of the chunks. And it is really crucial that you write within those times, and that means across the whole country, across the whole of the UK and beyond, we all play our part in one large community story. Okay, so after the lesson has finished, I want you to find a comfortable spot. I want you to take your time and enjoy the whole film. But don't do that yet, because now is the time to watch Mrs. C. But as you watch and you see inside my mind, I want you to have a pencil, a pen, and a piece of paper as you word gather into your vocabulary vault, because all words are precious and are going to help us improve our writing. Okay, so in the description below is a link to the film, and there's also a choose your chunk sheet. It's up to you if you just look at the times, or if you want to, you can look at the pictures to help you. My chunk today is going to be chunk 3. Chunk 3 is called Face to Face, and I'm going to focus my writing just around chunk 3. Now I know that, I'm going to make it really obvious I've chosen that chunk. And then I'm going to do something that I want you also to do. You're going to mirror exactly this, because a really important thing is on your piece of paper, I need your name. This is my name. I need your age. This is mine. And I know now I'm going to write for chunk 3. I am going to write for chunk 3, but in writing for chunk 3, I'm also going to challenge myself to craft and construct 9 effective sentences. That is also what I want you to do. I want you to really have a go. Try not to breach 9 sentences, but also don't worry if you don't quite make 9, because actually quality is better than quantity. Okay, so just as a little check, I'm going to ask you to find a piece of paper. Now, tick. Get a pencil or a pen. Tick. And now you have some instruments to write. I'm going to ask you to watch Mrs. C teach you very directly around certain aspects of writing, but I want you to have pens up or pencils up, and I want you to jot, think and make notes. Some of you are starting to send me in your notes as well as your final 9 sentences. And did you know, I love that thinking process just as much as the final piece of writing. It means I can see your thinking, I can see your jottings. Oh, and it really does fill me with joy. Okay, so you know how this rolls. Every day I ask you to include 3 writing challenges. And I'm going to tell you now from the writing rainbow which challenges I am going to include. So, from the grammar lens, I'm going to choose colon. And we're going to particularly look at using a colon to introduce a list. I'm excited about doing that. The next thing I'm going to ask you to do, but I know you're really good at this, it's a technique of writing. We're going to have a go at alliteration. And we all know what alliteration is, don't we? It's when we have words with the same sound at the beginning. But don't get fooled, because sometimes you can have something like this, fun photograph, this noun phrase, and they have different letters. And if you look at that digraph there, fun photograph, but it's the same sound. Oh, that is intriguing when that happens. And then the other thing we're going to have a go at doing is we're going to write a complex sentence. And we're going to write that and see if we can use the conjunction as in the middle of a sentence. I have noticed that many of you like using as at the beginning, but we're going to see if we can embed it in between a subordinating clause and a main clause. Or maybe a main clause and a subordinating clause, we might switch it. Are you ready? Are you ready, writers? Make sure you've got your pencil or pen, because I want you to watch, listen and jot. I'm now thinking about chunk 3. And as I think about chunk 3, I'm going to make some jottings. What I need to be sure of is that all of us are writing in the same way. We need to be sure that we're all writing a third-person narrative. So I need to name some characters. we have Mara, and she is going to be the central character girl. And then we have a boy in the story. I'm going to go back to my Choose a Chunk notes and just check what the boy's name is. Lucas. Do you know, I have a Lucas in the super sentence stacking classroom who writes for me every day to a really high standard. It's spelt slightly different, but Lucas, you know who you are. In fact, I'm getting used to many of your names, and some of your writing is so outstanding, let me tell you. I can always tell who's been listening as well. Okay, jotters. We have Mara, we have Lucas, and we will be using pronouns like he, she, and they. So I'm going to make a note of that. In chunk 3, Mara is really fed up. So I'm going to write that. Mara, fed up. I'm also going to write sullen, because I like that. She's feeling fed up, and I'm going to write a jotting of why she's fed up. She makes model planes and they never work, and it's getting her down. And I've made a little note of that, and I might want a scene set with that. Or do I just need to be aware of that? Because actually, chunk 3 specifically, the mood changes from this sullenness to her being alerted to something. I'm going to write alerted, and it's kind of a sudden shift. In fact, her mood changes very quickly. I'm going to start with the central character. I really like crafting really clear central character stories. So I'm going to start with Mara. Mara, and then I'm going to choose a word about the shift change. Brightened, I like that. Mara brightened suddenly. Mara brightened suddenly. That suddenly might be confusing there. I'm going to drop it there, but because it's an adverb, I know it can move, so I might move it in a moment. Mara brightened suddenly at the sight of, well, this is strange, isn't it? A really small little miniature boy arrives in the scene. Mara brightened suddenly at the sight of the... Now I could write boy, or I could make it more precise. At the sight of the small boy. At the sight of the miniature, I like that better, miniature pilot, actually, because he crashes from the sky. At the sight of the miniature pilot, full stop. Suddenly might be a better, more urgent way in. I'm going to move that suddenly, because there's such a shift. Suddenly, comma, Mara brightened at the sight of the miniature pilot. I'm now going to have a go at rereading my work. Suddenly, Mara brightened at the sight of the miniature. Oh, it's a good job I reread that. I think there's a problem here. So I'm going to put a little SP to check it, and miniature. It comes from the word mini. So I'm thinking I'm going to cross out that A, put an I, but does it need an A? I'm going to be a brave writer. I'm going to miniature. It needed both of those. So let me just make a little edit here. Here we go. It must have mini because it means small. Miniature. So miniature pilot. Oh, good job I reread that. Don't worry. Never worry about your spelling. Remember, you can pick up spelling mistakes on rereads. You can mark your work to go back and doubly make sure. And sometimes by just asking yourself, does that make sense? Is that the correct spelling? It alerts you to have a very close look at it. Suddenly, Mara brightened at the sight of the miniature pilot. I'm now going to include a colon because I think it would be really good to add more detail about this small pilot. Maybe I need a better word than small because I've probably already said it in miniature. I'm going to leave it for now though until I can think of something that brings something extra into the mix. Small, afraid. I'm going to do some thesaurus thinking here. Afraid, it's not bad, but what else could it be? Afraid, frightened, worried, petrified. Let me write that down. Petrified. Petrified seems too much though. Panicky. Oh, panicky is a tricky word, you know. Sometimes when you write panicky, you think it doesn't have a K, but I've learnt it does. Panicky. But you know what I really love here? I think frightened. Petrified is too much. Let me write that in. Frightened and in trouble. I'm going to keep thinking about that word small because I feel like I've said it already. Maybe I need to take out the miniature there and then replace small with miniature. In writing, it's really important not to say things that have already been said. It's really clumsy. Bit like my rubber being clumsy there. Miniature. Oh, let's reread that now. Suddenly, Mara brightened at the sight of the pilot. Miniature, frightened and in trouble. I'm going to put strange though, because he is strange. He's so small. Strange, and then that brings something extra and a little bit more tension. Okay, I'm going to have a go at alliteration. And the key to alliteration is not to jump in too fast. I really want to zoom in now in the writing to see that Lucas, who has crashed his airship, can see that the rest of the fleet are flying off without him. And I definitely want a flying word to build the same sounds around. So I'm just going to make a note of 2 flying words to see if I can get something going. The first flying word I'm going to write down is soaring. I'm going to think of all words to do with that flying off that I could connect with the same sound at the beginning. So soaring, they set off, they're going into the horizon. Sight, they're getting very distant. It does look sensational, but it's probably quite worrying. So even though that's a good sound word, I'm not sure if it's going to work. All of the airships have strange sails on the back. There might be some mileage in that, but I'm going to have a go at building some ideas around the word flying. Flying flew, in the same family there. Friends, they're going further and further away. Further's good. Oh, Let's have a go at that. Further. Other words. Fun, but I don't think it's fun. I'm rejecting that for the same reason as sensational. Oh, I tell you what is a good word. Fleet or flock. Oh, I think I'm going to work with this sound. Okay, back to the writing. Now I've got some ideas. So, his airship is definitely broken and his companions are leaving at high speed. How should I start this sentence? There's a lot to think about. So, here we go. His fantastic flying airship. It's okay. I'm going to write contraption because it's so unusual. His fantastic flying contraption was broken, was smashed. I like that better. Was smashed. Oh, I love, this is one of my favourite words, you know, was smashed to smithereens. Don't you just love that? Smithereens. I do. Smithereens. There are some words that are so delicious in the English language. His fantastic flying contraption was smashed to smithereens. But I haven't got this alliteration in yet. So I'm going to zoom in here to flying. His fantastic flying contraption was smashed to smithereens and will give me another way in this compound construction to add more information. And they both saw his fleet, saw his friends, both of these work, saw his fleet of friends even better, saw his fleet of friends flying away, but we've already used flying here, so his fantastic, I'm going to change that there, bring that flying down to live in the alliteration family. They saw both his fleet of friends flying further away. I need to go back now and make an edit. His fantastic, airborne, I'm going to put there instead, airborne contraption was smashed to smithereens, and they both saw his fleet of friends flying further away. Oh, I love the way that's drenched in the same sounds at the end. I'm going to finish now with a complex sentence. And before I jump into the writing, I'm going to make some notes about some things I'd like to do. Little Lucas, the little miniature pilot now, is very tense. And we see him go straight to his belongings. They're very heavy. He's got a really big bag. I'm going to write that down. And he's trying to guard it and protect it and pull it back. So I'm going to write down that, pull it back. I'm going to try now to really create this moment of the miniature pilot being afraid. So we don't lose track of what's happening here. I'm going to make Mara witness this. So I'm going to start exactly like that. Mara witnessed, or we could have something like looked on, but I like witnessed. Maybe it's too formal. Mara watched. That's probably better. Mara watched on as the see how I've used as there, on as the nervous. You see, you could put Mara watched on full stop for that clause. but now I'm going to add on a subordinating clause. This means it won't stand on its own, but it'll definitely have a verb in it, and I'll show you when I drop the verb. Oh, dropping verbs all over the shop, Mrs. C. You're getting excited now. Mara watched on as the nervous boy pulled back. Pulled back his heavy bag towards the broken airship. I'm going to do some thesaurus thinking now around broken. So let me rub these ideas out on my thesaurus thinking board, and I'm going to have a go at gathering now some words that mean broken. So let me write down broken, broken to get me going, broken. In the same synonym family, damaged. In the same synonym family, wrecked. Oh, that's a good idea, the wrecked airship. Shattered. It's not completely shattered though, but I'm going to write it down. Shattered. Ruined. The damaged is probably what I need. Let me reread this though, because I've got a bit excited. Mara watched on as the nervous boy pulled back his heavy... It's a good job I reread, isn't it? I've missed out the word bag. I think because it's got the same amount of letters as boy, my brain thought I'd already dropped it in. Pulled back his heavy bag towards the... Oh, I've forgotten which one I've chosen now. Damaged airship. I've already used airship. What about wreckage? Rather than wrecked airship, wreckage. Use that as a word. I'm going to reread that from the beginning. A chance to check my spelling, my silly mistakes. Here we go. Suddenly, Mara brightened at the sight of the strange pilot. Miniature, frightened and in trouble. His fantastic airborne contraption, do you know, airborne, because she's trying to always get things airborne, just works really well there. I know you shouldn't really compliment yourself when you're trying to get cohesion on the go, but that is pretty amazing. His fantastic, you can have writer's pride, you know. His fantastic airborne contraption was smashed to smithereens, and they both saw his fleet of friends flying further away. Mara watched on as the nervous boy pulled back his heavy bag towards the wreckage. I'm actually really pleased with that. I did make a lot of mistakes today, but because I really value rereading, it doesn't have to be perfect first time. Okay, so final messages. Please send me your notes, because I care about those just as much as the final piece. I really love seeing your thinking, your word gathering. And I like to see what's in your vocabulary vault. Get your writing back to me at 12:30. And I want you to take some time now to watch the film slowly and enjoy it. You can bring your cat, your dog, or your goldfish. Goldfish love watching films. And when you hand your writing in, you can hand it into me on Twitter @JaneConsidine. Remember to use the hashtag #SuperSentenceStackers. And you can hand it in to me on Facebook at The Training Space. Remember, Mrs. C reads every single piece that's handed in, and I try my best to comment on as many as I can. Thank you, everybody. Remember to subscribe so you know when I'm live in the classroom. Goodbye. See you tomorrow.